Thank you so much.
Okay, good evening, sir. Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, if you can be a little more loud, that would be much appreciated.
Okay, I'll try to scream a little bit. All right, so my name is Eyong Ayok. I'm the group leader for team leadership. And my group member, I had just one group member who is the person of Sarah Mokake. And she's presently unavoidably absent, but she's going to eventually join us due to work constraints. So I'll just kickstart the slide since I'm giving just basically 20 minutes to go through. So sorry about that. So as my table of content is concerned, I'm beginning with what is understanding leadership. The second part will be leadership versus management. The third part, leadership theories and evolution. The fourth part, leadership in HR management. The fifth, leadership and organizational culture, as well as leadership in change management. That will be in the sixth part. And we'll take one little case study, which is that of Carlos Ghosn at Nissan. And we eventually conclude at the end with the conclusion of today's presentation. All right. Sorry for that. I had to take someone in since I've been made co-administrator. All right. So leadership is influencing, inspiring, and guiding effective leaders have vision. It's all about influencing, inspiring, and guiding. And each time we talk about leadership, it's all about driving others with a certain vision, using components such as emotional intelligence, integrity, and the ability to also mix up when it comes to leadership and authority. So quickly, what is authority and what is earned through trust and respect, as we were taught in class? Whereas leadership creates an environment where people want to always just simply follow. Secondly, what is definition of leadership or influence as a whole? The ability to influence, inspire, and guide individuals or teams towards achieving organizational goals is what we call as a leadership. So key characteristics of effective leaders is number one, vision and strategic thinking. Number two, we have emotional intelligence and empathy. Number three, we have integrity and ethical behavior. Number four, we have the ability to inspire and to also motivate others. Fortunately, motivation has already passed, and I believe all of us were kind of like informed and richly guided by the previous presenters on that issue of motivation. So the difference between authority and influence is that number one, authority is positional, like I said earlier, and number two, sorry, I'm admitting people in class. Number two, influence is earned based on trust and respect. Now, we also want to talk about the difference between leadership and management, because sometimes we also have that confusion between leadership, management, and influence. So leadership, like we said, is all about a vision. It's about being inspirational, and it's about changing, bringing about the desired change each time. Whereas management, on the other hand, has to do with planning. It's organizational, and it's more of process focused. So in management, we talk more of hows and when, whereas in leadership, we talk of the whys and the what ifs. Now, what they both have in common is that leaders set direction, whereas managers execute plans. Leaders inspire change, and managers maintain the stability brought about by the change. Leaders develop people, whereas managers seek to always coordinate tasks and processes, like we said. Now, let's go to section three, which is about leadership theories and a few evolution as far as the topic of leadership is concerned. So the first theory is that of the trait theory. Trait theory speaks about leaders are born with specific traits, such as charisma, intelligence, and confidence. That's what that theory puts forth or pushes forward. And usually, its limitation overlooks the learned skills and context. In other words, such personalities or people who apply this theory usually do not go for formal contextual training to become effective leaders because they believe that they have the traits that match leadership positions. The second theory is that of the behavioral theory, and here states that leaders are made through learned behaviors, number one. Number two, focusing on task-oriented versus people-oriented approaches. So in this theory, we focus more on the task we want to execute, whereas as opposed to We're listening more to what the people have to say and what they have to contribute. So in this style of leadership, usually it is developed in programs like the one we are doing, which is the MBA program, where we are trained to become better leaders in our various organizations. The third theory is a contingency theory. Here, we state that effective leadership depends on the situation with no one-size-fits-all approach. So in other words, this is more of a flexible kind of leadership style, wherein there are different methodologies which are applied per the circumstance at hand. So leaders usually are more of like flexible than actually rigid. And I believe in the entrepreneurial lecturer laboratory class, we taught about the jazz versus the blues style of leadership. So I believe that this dwells more into that kind of framework where we said the jazz blues is more of like laid down on strict rules and principles, whereas the blues is more of improvisational, if I may say that way. In other words, everything is improvised on the spot. So the contingency theory moves in line more of the blues theory of leadership, as we're taught in our entrepreneurial leadership class. Now, what are some of the contemporary leadership styles we have? Number one, we have the transformational leadership style, which inspires followers to exceed expectations, thereby creating a compelling vision and encouraging innovation and development. We also have the transactional leadership style, which uses rewards and consequences, thereby setting clear expectations and accountability with performance-based recognition in order for them to be effective for routine operations. The third leadership style is that of the servant leadership style. It prioritizes serving the team rather than serving oneself, and thereby it empowers and develops others, thereby building the community and collaboration on the well-being of the entire organization as a whole. We also have the autocratic leadership style. Here, quick decisions are made using top-down control perspectives. And they're usually best for crisis situations and time-sensitive decisions, such as seen in an emergency response, for example. You also have the democratic leadership style, wherein a team input with collaboration for consensus building is always required. Here, they are suitable for innovation and strategy building. Lastly, we have the laissez-faire leadership. Here, it is more of a hands-off approach with delegation for autonomy, where everybody is assigned a task per the orientation of the goal we all want to achieve at the end. In section 4, try to talk about leadership in the context of HR, which is human resource management. Here, the HR leader's role, a minute, please let me admit someone. Okay. So in this slide, we'll be talking about the HR leader's role. And number one, he has he's more of a strategic partner in the sense that he aligns HR's initiatives with business objectives, as well as overall organizational strategy in order to drive growth and to drive business success. Number two, he's also more of like the cultural architect, thereby designing and maintaining organizational culture, shaping values and norms, as we're taught, in order to foster employee engagement. Number three, he or she is an agent of change, thereby leading organizational transformational initiatives, overcoming resistance, and implementing new practices effectively, as we were taught in class. And number four, we have balance. He's also an advocate for the employees, like sometimes we call them delegates. In most of our organizations, we call them delegates. So a lot of times, they try to balance employee needs versus the business or the organizational requirements as a whole. Also, he or she is also a bridge builder. He serves as a connecting point between management's vision and the workforce execution. Lastly, he's also the talent developer who helps build capacities and reinforce them wherever they are lacking within the organizational context. So what are the core competencies for effective leadership? Number one, we have emotional intelligence, which is the foundation for effective leadership. This requires self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Second competence is communication skills, and this is the lifeline of each leadership style. Because for the fact that it is active, number one, it requires active listening. Number two, it's clear and transparent in communicating its points across. Number three, it seeks to build constructive feedback delivery or mechanisms wherever the need may be. And number four, it also strives to create a cascaded system of information flowing from top management to the operational level of management. We also have, as the third competency, is that of being a strategic thinker and more of a decision maker. in terms of conflict resolution as well. And this involves aligning HR with business goals. It also demands that we make data-driven decisions which are ethical and timely choices. This also requires meditation, negotiation, and problem-solving abilities. Next, we'll talk about the leadership and employee. And here, how leaders drive motivation. Number one is by creating meaningful work experiences. Number two, recognizing and celebrating contributions. Number three, providing growth opportunities. Number four, demonstrating genuine care to boost motivation. And number two, the second aspect is how do they create psychological safe environments while building trust and loyalty? They do so by consistency. Sorry, I want to admit someone. Okay. They do so by building a culture of transparency and consistency in a safe environment for risk-taking where people work without fear. And lastly, he's also able to measure employee engagement by using matrices such as the retention rate, the turnover rates, absenteeism rates, productivity matrices, such as the KPIs and the OKRs, survey participation rates, and other internal promotion rates as well, which can also help mobilize or galvanize the personnel or the staff. Leadership and organizational culture. Sorry, I'm having to go too fast. I'm trying to remember within the constraint of my time. Leaders as culture shapers is the next slide. And here we are trying to define norms and values, which we already did in class, but I try to contextualize in the context of leadership. Usually, we say leaders define and model organizational values, thereby influencing the climate or the atmosphere within the organization. So they are usually very, very determinant as far as organizational norms or values are concerned. Also, they have an impact on the organizational climate as a whole because leaders set the emotional tone, influencing organizational climate and behaviors, thereby shaping unconscious beliefs and affecting even the employees morally. Next, we are going to look at leadership's impact on the culture of the organization. So we had spoken about the various kinds of cultures within organizations. We spoke about the clan culture, the adhocracy culture, and the market culture. So how does leadership intervene in each of these various cultures? Under the clan culture, we say it's more of collaborative and employee focus. And number two, it requires participative leadership or participative approach between the top management and the operational level of management. Under the adhocracy culture, this involves innovation and entrepreneurial atmospheres. Usually we see this a lot in startups, where there is a need for a visionary and a risk-taking leadership style approach in order for there to be growth within this kind of organizations, like I said, in the example of startups. We also have the impact of leadership within the market culture. Here, this type of culture, as we said in class, we were taught by a lecturer. He told us they are more results-oriented and very competitive. And so they demand high level of, I would say, high-level leaders who are driven by high levels of motivation, or I'll say that way basically, or who are highly driven by motivation. I think that's a better way to put it. All right. So how does leadership affect cultural transformation? Number one, by assessing current culture using tools like, sorry, I had to admit someone, using tools such as the OKI, which is Organizational Cultural Assessment Instrument. Number two, by current employee surveys, organizational and behavioral for proper assessment and a plan creation. Also, step two is by defining desired culture. And number three, modeling new behaviors. What we saw in class as the unfreezing, the implementation, and the refreezing method. So this is in a nutshell how a leader is basically able to transform an organizational culture, like we said, by him aligning with strategic goals, addressing identified gaps, promoting a growth mindset across all divisions or departments of the company. And also, he is able to model new behaviors by embodying himself the change with a visible and consistently clear vision, which the other employees can copy from and emulate. Next, we are going to talk about leadership in change management. Here, a lot of times, we look at how or what is the leader's role as far as change in the organization is concerned. Number one, we said he can create urgency. Number two, he's capable of building a vision by painting the picture of the desired future state thereby helping the employees be galvanized or motivated towards achieving the goals they want to achieve. And number three, we talk about sustaining momentum, which has to do with celebrating quick wins and maintaining focus each time an employee makes remarkable improvement in their work. Leadership and Lewin's change model. What is a relationship? We spoke about the unfreezing, the changing, or the implementation, and the refreezing method. Here, like we said, the idea is to use the appropriate tools, diagnose whatever is wrong in the organization or whatever is not working right or whatever is not giving us the best delivery, and thereby trying to assess and then coming up with better measures which we think are a better substitute for those practices which never worked properly in the past. And once we come up with those various tools or aspects or measures, I will put it that way, we refreeze them back. That means we try to implement them in such a way that everybody now takes conscious or are conscious of the fact that these are the new regulations and the new norms which we are setting as the leadership. Leadership and Kottas model. Here, we just decided to just link up quickly how leadership is linked to Kottas model. And we said, number one, he helps create urgency by sparking motivation for change where there is need. Number two, by forming powerful coalition. Number three, by creating vision. Number four, by communicating the vision clearly and effectively towards the others. Number five, by creating actions that empower the others and enable them to take risk where the need is felt. Number six, he helps generate quick wins as well. Number seven, helps consolidate gains and the achievements of and the progress being and the milestones being covered within the organization. And number eight, it helps anchor in culture, helps anchor this new he helps anchor more of these new measures within the organizational culture, so they become the new norm within the organization, if I may put it that way. Next, we talk about leadership challenges and solutions. And here, we talk about number one, managing resistance to change. Here, it demands an understanding of why the resistance is happening in the first place. Number two, we try to address the concerns with a lot of empathy. That means by trying to understand what the others are facing and what they are expressing. And it demands also a little bit of active listening at that level. Number three, we talk about involving resistors or the rebels, if I put it that way, within the solution design. That means an inclusive approach within the solution. Secondly, we also talk about how do we balance employee advocacy with business needs. This demands that we make difficult decisions fairly. In other words, we try to strike a balance where the need be. We also have to deal with leadership divergence and multi-generational teams, sometimes working in the same team. Like we said here, there are people who sometimes are younger than us in the organization and some who are older. So sometimes working with these various generations is not very easy, but a lot of times it just demands that we respect each other, we tolerate each other, and we try to be as inclusive as possible in our leadership styles. Number four, how do we maintain ethical standards whilst even under pressure? Because a lot of us, we work under constant pressure a lot of times. So that demands that we stand firm on principles, on the grounding principles which leadership has established, and also speaking the truth in order to empower the growth of the organization wherever they need be. Also, adapting to technological disruptions, that can be a challenge, which sometimes leadership faces, because there are times when we want to evolve with the techniques we use in the organization, but sometimes they are not easily adopted. Sometimes it may be by the older generation, even by the younger generation sometimes. So a lot of times it requires that we embrace new digital transformation and new digital tools, leading workforce through system changes and trying to make sure we carry everybody along within the constraints of the vision. Now, how do we develop emotional intelligence as leaders? Studies show that 90% of top performers have a high level of emotional intelligence. Number one, so how do we develop emotional intelligence? Number one, we do so by self-awareness. Number two, we do so by self-regulation. That means managing disruptive emotions professionally and thinking before reacting. Number three, we speak about motivation. Yeah, we have to try to understand what is our passion. What was the passion? What was the reason why we decided to engage into this process in the first place? Because that will become the motivation drive for our actions eventually. We talk about also being empathetic. And yeah, it requires that we understand how others feel, what they are saying, and we listen to them actively, and we take into their accounts their contributions in a way that they feel also they are being listened to. Number five, is by developing social skills, because managing relationships strategically helps build these social tools by building rapport and finding common grounds between the various parties in an organizational setting. So we'll take one last case study before we round up, which is that of Carlos Ghosn at Nissan. And here, I'll just give us a quick background. So the whole idea is Nissan was at the verge of bankruptcy with close to 20 billion francs, $20 billion in debt, and 8 consecutive years of declining market shares for their products. And they also had an insecular culture resistant to change. The fourth challenge they were facing was that they had a strong internal silos preventing collaboration. So Carlos Ghosn's appointment was the first non-Japanese leader in Japanese automotive company. And so he had an enormous cultural change ahead to implement. That's why he had to define a vision and a mission, which helped turn around Nissan's story. The question is, why this case matters for HR? Because number one, it demonstrates cross-cultural leadership. Because as I said, Carlos Ghosn was not a Japanese initially. So the second reason is he shows how leaders drive organizational transformation effectively. Number three, it also helps illustrate change management principles in action. Now, a minute, please. Carlos Ghosn's leadership approach. We'll look at it a little bit before we proceed. And this first leadership approach has to do with the unfreezing, which we spoke about in one of our models, which we studied in class, which is that of listen first and act later. In this, we saw that Carlos Ghosn spent 3 months visiting plants, talking to employees, formed 9 cross-functional teams of middle managers, thereby asking the teams to identify problems and eventual solutions, which could help bring the company forward. Also, we learned that in that case, involvement creates ownership, because once the people feel they are being involved in decision making, they begin to take the company as a part of themselves. So they are willing to be more cooperative and more collaborative. The second thing is he employed or deployed transparent or effective communication. Publicly, he committed to specific targets, talking about Carlos Ghosn, and Nissan's revival plan with clear milestones defined, regular town halls and open forums. And therefore, we can learn that transparency builds trust in this case, because once we make the vision clear, we communicate it to in the various levels and on the various platforms that matter. It becomes easy for the public to trust us and for the people to gain our trust. And therefore, we can easily enforce or unfreeze any resistance which the organization is facing at the moment. Now, as far as the changing side is concerned, he had to break down the silos. Remember, we said there were various silos or fractions within the company. So number one, he had to establish cross-functional teams, which forced collaboration. Number two, he dismantled the Keiretsu supplier system. He also created accountability across departments. And here we can learn that structure shapes behavior, because wherever there is no structure, a lot of times, it's difficult for the people to adapt certain values, which will eventually become the norm within that organization. Also, we can talk about cultural sensitivity, because he, not being a Japanese, as we said, by birth, he respected Japanese values and cultures while trying to change their practices. But at the core of it, he tried to retain Japanese leadership teams as much as he could, thereby balancing global standards with the local context. So what we can learn here is that respect for culture while transforming it makes the cultural change even more effective. Also, we can talk about the quick wins in order to build momentum. Here, Carlos Ghosn had to close 3 factories. He reduced the suppliers by 50% within a year, and he returned to profitability within just 1 year. He met 3-year targets in 2 years. So therefore, we can learn that visible progress always sustains change. Now, leadership actions taken by Carlos Ghosn. So we can furthermore talk about the unfreezing side of his leadership actions taken on the field. By the way, this is him on to my right. So number one, we can talk of listening first and acting later. Like we said, he spent 3 months visiting the plants. There was transparent communication where he publicly communicated his vision clearly, and he helped break down the silos or the various cabals which were already in the company. And also, there was cultural sensitivity, which he took into account while trying to enforce his change. That's why we spoke of balancing global standards with the local context or within the global context. And at the end, that helped build what momentum within the organization and thereby fostering quick growth and success within a very short time. So what are the results and the lessons learned from Carlos Ghosn's experience? Number one, the results from the transformation. He returned to profitability just in 12 months, ahead of 2 years targets, which were previously set. He eliminated the $20 billion debt, which was initially incurred by the company. Number three, his operating margins increased from negative 6.6% to plus 7.9%. We can see how much great impact he created just within that short period of time, because this is massive in terms of metrics achievements within the organization. And also, we can talk about the employee engagement scores, which improved dramatically. He also became the model for corporate turnaround, and that's why even most schools like us now, Phonic Business School, we are taking him to like become like more of a case study, which we try to study and we learn from. So, what are the key leadership lessons? Number one, we listen before we act. We involve middle management. Number two, we respect existing cultures. Number three, we lead by example. Number five, we lead by accountability. Number six, when I say accountability, I mean both to ourselves and to the people. Number six, we speak about celebrating successes. Number seven, we speak about balancing urgency with patience. And as a side note, we can just say what made this model actually work was number one, that the fact that he adopted emotional intelligence. By that, we refer to the empathy he had for Japanese culture. Number two, we can speak about clear communication. There was no ambiguity about his expectations and the goals he had set. Number three, we have the collaborative approach, which deals with cross-functional teams. And number four, we have data-driven decisions, which are based on facts and not political affiliations at the core. And with number five, we have visible leadership, which dwells on present and not past victories or glories. So what are the practical recommendations we can have at the end of this session or this presentation? We can say, as core principles, leaders are pivotal in organizational culture because they set the norms and they model behaviors. Number two, the change requires unfreezing, changing, and refreezing, which is Levin's model, which we studied already. Number four, employee engagement depends on leadership quality. And number four, context matters. That is, the challenges in the Cameroonian Logistics Center, for example, requires adaptive leadership styles. And the same is true for no matter any other sector, even if it's the financial sector, the marketing sector, and what have you. So the leadership journey always starts with self-awareness. So as people who want to become great leaders, and I believe that's the case for each of us, we will always want to start by being self-awareness of our weaknesses, our strengths, and what we master the most. And it also requires a lot of courage, as we learned from, I think it was our career readiness coach, Dr. Fotabe, who told us that it requires a lot of courage in order to make decisions that matter. Number three, we learned that it demands empathy to bring people along. Number four, it never ends, always evolving and growing. So these are a few references where we had some of our sources, and we can easily access them should in case there is need. So having said that, thank you so much for your kind attention. And this is where group leadership, this is what group leadership had to offer. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Ayuk and team, for your brilliant presentation. Can we accept this presentation with thanks by clapping for them? All of us in class, I always see Mr. Rene clapping. I also see Kede clapping. Is Madame Pelagie jealous for Telma too is getting us? And then, of course, Kolo. Okay. Pelagie is now coming alive. Simon Baswa is coming alive. Who else? Are the rest sleeping? Okay, so before I would say a few things and ask a few questions. Can we have reaction from the class? Pelagie, can you start? Madam Pelagie, can you unmute yourself and react to this presentation? Okay, we move from Pelagie. Renee.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, Pelagie is coming alive. Good evening,
Sorry,
Pelagie.
my network keeps breaking. Okay,
Okay.
sir. I would say I really enjoyed the presentation in the sense that it was not only focused on the course which we are studying, but it did get across other courses. I saw the link with managerial career readiness, with entrepreneurial laboratory, and so on. So I'm learning, and I want to say I'm inspired to do this kind of presentations in the future, because for me it's something very new. Yeah, I'm very conscious of the fact that I don't know anything. So thank you so much, Mr. Ayuk.
Thelma.
Okay, I would like to say that the presentation was really amazing. It was nice and it was mature. I would say the fact that he included case studies, the group included case studies, that made it really outstanding and more relatable. So yeah.
Okay. So who has a question? Where is Maureen?
She says she had and something came up just this evening, so she has to attend an urgent meeting. I don't know.
Okay. Who else is in class? Nathan.
So I'm the one. We are the ones who presented. So
Okay. Nathan is also
a
Ayuk.
young Ayok, yes, sir.
Okay. Some people are hiding. Immediately I started asking questions. I saw us reducing from 11 to 8 now. It means that some people are running away from questions. Renee, can you say something?
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Mr. Ayuk, for the wonderful presentation. I think it was really nice. He brought out all the models. And even in his case study, I could see he was explaining that the models interrelate in the way we apply them. And also it's a continuous process of being a leader and developing. I think the case study was really excellent, explaining how with patience and with ability to listen and to implement and to be transparent, somebody could actually make huge changes in a big organization like the case study. So thank you very much, and I think I learned a lot.
Okay. All right. So nobody is asking a question. I would have loved somebody to ask a question so that we can understand. We had 5 minutes to ask questions before we take to the next lesson. But unfortunately, nobody is courageous enough to ask Ayuk a question. I do not know why.
So I have a question.
So somebody is coming up with a question. May I know?
Yes. Yes, please, just to know, Mr. Ayok, why did you choose Nissan? Why not maybe a Cameroon-based company?
Okay, thank you so much, Madam Pelagie, for the question. I chose Nissan because I thought it was one of the best models we had, which could actually represent Lewin's model. Because in Nissan, actually they call it the Carlos Ghosn case study a lot of times. He was a person who actually made this model to become famous because through his leadership style, it became an outstanding through the outstanding results he produced. it became obvious that it is actually possible that once the leadership is gotten right, or once the leadership is actually follows these clearly defined patterns which I explained, all these rules or principles which I explained, results are unavoidable. So I think a lot of times in most schools, and from what I discovered, his case stood out to be the best, which represents Lewin's model, like I said. So there were other models, but his stood out the most. So that's why we decided to focus on Carlos Ghosn's model at Nissan. I don't know if it answers your question.
Yes, it does. But if I may ask, can it be applied for a non-automobile sector?
Yes, definitely it can be. It can be. Remember, we said, let me go a little back. Remember, we said there were things that made this model actually work. In other words, after we listen to the story and the background and the contextual study of the whole story, we discover that we have emotional intelligence, clear communication, collaborative approaches, data-driven decisions, and visible leadership, which are principles which are universally applicable to any sector or industry. So it is not limited just to the automobile industry. Because in every industry, if the leadership applies emotional intelligence, I think they can go places. If they apply clear communication, then I think the vision becomes clear to whosoever is working and collaborating within that organization. If they apply collaborative approaches where people have a sense of involvement and participation in the company, they feel they are listened to. I believe even if it's a restaurant or a food catering business, people can always have results in such a business. So I think it's really a model which has so many principles which can be applied no matter the sector or industry in which we find ourselves.
Okay, Mr. Yo, thank you very much.
Thank you so much
Say
for the
that.
question.
Pelagie, I am surprised you are very satisfied with that answer. You asked a very good question, which I should have asked, and he did not answer the question, and I'm surprised that you are very satisfied with the question. I'll ask the question again that
Yes, sir.
Pelagie asked. Why did you choose Carlos Ghosn, Nissan in Japan, rather than choosing a Cameroonian example?
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for the question.
Is that not what you
Um,
asked, Pelagie?
Yes, sir. That's what I asked. That was
But
the
he did not
question.
answer the reason why he chose, because he said is the best model. How is it best from what we are experiencing in Cameroon?
okay, maybe I
And you
didn't get
started
the
saying
question.
also is applied.
Maybe I didn't get
The
the question
question is,
properly,
why
sir.
did you choose Carlos Ghosn,
Mhm.
far away from
Yes.
Japan, and you ran away from all the experiences that we may have in Cameroon, which is very contextual to us and as leaders here around?
Right, sir. Mr. Yok, you have the floor again.
All right, thank you so much. I
Okay,
was
sir.
muted. Sorry. Okay, so I think I get the question clearly. The reason is simple. So while we were trying to carry out this work, we didn't have enough data in order for us to process and carry it out, like to know what were the matrices. Because in order
Simple.
for us to like, yes,
So in Cameroon, we do things without documenting them. Full stop.
okay, so
Full stop. So what have we learned from this question? That we should start documenting the little changes we have. That's why I gave you an assignment that you should choose a company of your own and do an organizational culture and change assessment to the company. Document, make recommendations. We don't document our activities and our work here in Cameroon. Carlos Ghosn is a very well documented case. There are so many other cases, but if you want to take the case of Nissan, you want to take Nestle, you want to take Coca Cola, and so forth and so on, you find that when we are talking about leadership, one of the best documented case is that of Carlos Ghosn. Full stop. That's the answer. Now, let me give you an experience, because like I said, I teach. We have been studying human resource management, so I've done a little bit of studies in corporations and big companies. Even if they are not documented, but if you do little surveys, you will find that there are some leadership traits or leadership issues in our different companies or organizations, even in Cameroon as a whole, their government. And these are things which you can study and present in classes like this, so that it will be contextual and it will be very close to us. We can feel it. Like Pelagie rightly asked, yes, Carlos Ghosn is it's a well documented case. Nizan is a well documented case study, which is a top notch case. But of course, if you use some Cameroonian examples, I take the case of CDC for example. CDC changed management sometime in 2013. Before CDC changed management, there was a serious um, serious issue with CDC that they were declining because they didn't forecast properly. In 2012, the rubber market was very good. It's just like cocoa. What happened to cocoa last year? Cocoa prices were skyrocketed last year, and a kilogram of cocoa sold at a certain point at 7,000 francs. So farmers thought that it would remain like that. Those who managed their resources carefully were wise. This year, what is happening? The prices have come down dramatically or drastically. So if you were managing a cocoa company or cocoa organization, there is a problem. What must leadership do? So those are things that we need to study around us and come up with suggestions to help our context. Now, like I said, in CDC, the rubber prices were very high in 2012, and the then management did not do proper forecasting. They thought that it would be sustained for a very long time, and so they started doing so many things at the same time. The first thing is that they had to increase allowances. They started even hiring people who were retired already, who were not very productive because of friendship issues. Excuse me, please. And so forth and so on. Now they started breaking some of their camps. If anybody knows Dimbe, for example, building new houses everywhere because they had some money they saw in rubber. 2013, the dynamics changed. Before we knew it, 2016, we had crisis. A new leadership came. The new leadership, what did they do? They started looking at the problems which the rubber market has caused and try to, be realistic with, for example, first of all, they did a survey and found that there were so many people holding positions which they were not supposed to. So they had to, first of all, address that. That was a problem. Of course, you know that you face resistance in that kind of a situation. And of course, they moved forward by, first of all, being very humble and honest to stop the projects, some of the projects they were carrying, because they could not carry all of these projects. And see what is happening now. For more than 24 months, they have not been able to pay salaries. Now, apart from the crisis, even if there were no crisis, the rubber market has never gone back to where it was. So how would they have finished all of these projects that started everywhere? So that is a leadership thing that we need to study and we need to document. But before then, before that 2012, when the former Prime Minister Mafamini Mosonge became the head of CDC, he met huge debts and brought some reforms. What was the major reforms? That every CDC worker must save from his salary. And they created credit unions in all their estates where they deducted money from the source, from worker salaries, and kept their credit unions, and brought a slogan like borrow wisely, pay consistently, just like that. So the money they used, this money they were keeping in the different credit unions that they have created in all the estates, because they put management in these credit unions. So when they kept from source, for example, if you were earning 20,000 francs, they'll give you 10,000 francs and tell you they have kept you at 10,000 francs. They used 10,000 francs to reinvest in the company. And before long, the company started, rejuvenated and so forth and so on. So these are managerial tendencies that we can apply locally, that we can study locally to change our dynamics. So the question Pelagie asked is very, very important. We should look at our context and see those little things that we have done, try to document them, and then talk about them so that they can be too contextual, so much so that we can feel them. Thank you very much. I do not know whether you have a question for me or you have something to add before I would say a few more things that you did not touch.
So I have one more question, sir.
Yes, Kede, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Ayok. Quite a work you did there, quite a research. But when you presented the difference between the leaders and the managers, I was giving the impression as if a manager cannot be a leader. If you're a leader, then you're not a manager. Can you please throw more light to that?
Is that what he presented? I'm not too sure. But the
At a
question
point, he was
made
giving
for
some
Ayok.
comparison.
Ayok, please, can you answer the question?
Okay, thank you so much, sir. That's not, I think the point we're driving across when we're trying to establish the difference between leaders and managers is that managers are more process focused. So they are more into achieving a certain result based on the process established by the visionary leader. So the leader gives the vision. He shares and communicates his vision. Now the manager gets the vision and tries to put in place processes which will make sure that the visionary leader, the vision communicated by the leader is now properly executed in order to have the desired result which the leadership wants. I think that's in a nutshell what we're trying to communicate at that level. Don't know if I
So
yeah,
the simple question is simple question.
Yeah,
Simple
I understand
question.
as if you
Simple
are saying.
Question, please. Simple question.
Yes.
Can a leader be a manager, or can
Yes.
a manager also have leadership skills?
Can you take back the question again, sir? I didn't get it properly.
Can a manager
yes
also have some leadership skills?
Yes, definitely. I think so. A manager can have leadership skills because
now, Kede, do you have a further question?
I think he should clarify, because what his presentation is as though manager is somewhat maybe like some mid-level managers, and then leaders now are maybe directors, whereas a manager can be a leader. Yes, even what he explained right now, he says the leader gives the vision, then the manager is based.
There is a clear distinction between a manager and a leader. But then a manager can have leadership skills.
Okay.
So I'll give you an assignment, Mr. Kede.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow you present the differences between a manager and a leader.
So I have a problem.
Yes.
Because I know a leader, like my son in the house, can be a leader.
I have told you to
I am
do
the head
a
of the
little
home.
research about the difference between manager and leader.
Leader, okay, sir.
Yes. Take that as an assignment.
Sir, okay, can I chip in something again?
Oh, is it a question or still on management and leader?
It was just to clarify, Mr. Kede.
No, I will not take your hand again. I don't want you to take the class in a ping pong and dilute this beautiful presentation. Just do us this favor by doing this little research, and you'll be given the floor tomorrow. First 3 minutes, you will talk about leadership and management.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Who else? Now, let me add a few things that has to do with power dynamics. And leaders exhibit some powers, managerial powers. These powers can be expert powers. They can be referent powers, where you can be referred. These powers can also be legitimate power, coercive, and also reward. If we begin with legitimate power, we will say that legitimate powers are the authority that a manager has by virtue of his or her position in an organization's hierarchy. That is what we call legitimate power. For reward, we will say that the ability of a manager to give or withhold tangible and intangible rewards. You will want to ask me what are tangible rewards or intangible rewards. Then I will send you back to do some studies on that. When we talk about coercive power, we are talking about the ability of a manager to punish others. And for expert power, that is based on special knowledge, skills, and expertise. And a leader can possess this. When we talk about referent or referral power, we are talking about power that comes from subordinates and co-workers. These are attributes of respect, admiration, and loyalty. And of course, we talked about empowerment, expanding employee tasks and responsibilities. A leader should be able to do that. You spoke well about traits and behavior models when you talked about the models. So that was very important in your presentation. Now, let me ask this question. Is there a difference between what is the difference?
The line got broken. I didn't get you.
Pardon?
The line was broken. I didn't get you, sir.
Okay. Is there any difference between leadership and a leader?
To be brief, I'll just say a leader incarnates leadership.
A leader
incarnates leadership.
Incarnates leadership. Who else? Kede? Looks like you have studied leadership much. Is there any difference between a leader and a leadership?
So maybe I can chip in.
Yes.
I think when we talk about a leader, we are relating to maybe the person, and we are relating to the action, the processes, or the initiatives put in place.
Excellent. Okay. Who else have a question? If we do not have any other questions, I think your presentation was excellent. I like your slides. I also like your presentation. You were very fluent. It means that you actually read the work over and over, and I think you should keep up. And others should emulate this kind of presentation. Please do drop the write-up and also the PowerPoint presentation in our human resource chat group, so that others can have these notes and also prepare for exams. Thank you very much. Please, can we appreciate them again, this team?
Thank you so much, sir.
That was an excellent job. Okay, we'll take the next group. That group is made up of Simon. Simon has to talk about structure. Is Simon in class?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you take over the presentation? You have 20 minutes.
Please, sir, I wish to ask for a favor. So, we were 3 of us in the group. One of us was supposed to show the PowerPoint slides here because I don't have a computer. So I sent the PowerPoint slides to Nathan. I don't know if he can help me and project it.
Can you send them to Ayuk?
Yes, sir. I already did on WhatsApp.
Okay. So Ayuk, can you help? That's -1 mark.
Okay, so let me go to his WhatsApp and check.
If you are unable to present, so your group was made up of who, and who?
Me, Madam Ruth Baswa, and Mr. Ngole. So he was responsible for projecting the PowerPoint slides. He's not in class. That's why I don't have a computer to do that.
Okay, so please, in your slides, make sure that you have all your names, because these presentations are also graded.
He didn't even send me his name. Oh my God.
You have the floor.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. So I'm here. My team members and I were here to talk about the organizational structure and culture and how both of them align to help organizations improve their performance and become better. Case study, we decided to talk about the Toyota, because I chose that particular company because I love it very much. So please, Mr. Ayuk, the next slide. Great. So in this presentation, we are going to talk about, this is a roadmap. We are going to talk about the organizational structure and concepts, the organizational culture and concepts, structure, cultural relationships, performance impact, and Toyota, the case study. So what is organizational structure? I don't have a lot of time. I think it's just a formal framework of authority or communication and how tasks are allocated in an organization. And this formal system of task and authority relationships, they have 5 different aspects of it. You have specialization, formalization, centralization, hierarchy, and departmentalization. So what is specialization? Mr. Ayo, please go back to the previous slides. I'd love to talk more on. Yeah, so specialization, we all know that it's division of labor. So some organizations put people in in departments where they are good in a particular job. And also for formalization, it's like a written rule or procedure that every member of an organization has to follow. For centralization, it talks about where power comes from, because we have centralization and decentralization of power. When power is centralized, it means it comes from the top management. But if it is decentralized, sometimes it can come from the top management and also from lower management. For hierarchy, organizations that practice hierarchy, there is a chain of command, and this kind of organizational structure, it is very clear. Rules must be followed, and those rules must come from the top to the bottom. For departmentalization, so people are grouped, of course, according to the job and the activities they do. Mr. Ayuk, please, next slide. Okay, we have different types of organizational structures. So companies can either use these different types. For example, the functional type. What is all about the functional type is all about when people are grouped by a specific activity. For example, in an organization, you go where they say people in marketing, in finance, come here and form a group, and you guys can do your business there and nobody's going to interrupt you. When companies adopt such organizational structure, it leads to efficiency. There is expertise in development and economies of scale. And also, when companies choose the metric system is more of like a combination of, two or more system of organizational structure. For the metric system, it's both functional and divisional or network type of organizational structure. So here, excuse me, sir, please, let me someone. So here, the companies there is this exchange of information between the various structures of the organization. For example, someone from a functional department can ask for maybe advice from someone from a divisional department and all of those things. So it's just like a hybrid method of all the different types of organizational structure. For divisional, from the word divisions, of course, in Cameroon we have different divisions, just like in our government. These people are separated based on, let me say, the geographical region. For example, people, companies have branches all over the world or maybe all over the country. They can say people in this particular branch in Bambenda, you can form your own little structure there. People in Douala can do the same. And this type of organizational structure has advantages, customer focus, they have accountability, and it's very flexible. For the disadvantages, I think there's duplication of resources and potential conflict. What does that mean? Because resources can be overused. Resources can, when people are in different areas, they can use a particular resource, and another person in another area can also use the same resource to carry out an activity. And also, there is the network system. What does it mean? A network system of organization is when organizations have a lot of outsourced functions, that are coordinated centrally. What does that mean? It means that, let us say, a country or an organization produces dresses, but they don't market those dresses themselves. They look for a marketing agency and they partner with them, and they don't also distribute these things by themselves. They look for a logistics company to do that for them. So this kind of organizational structure, the advantages of that is flexible, it reduces overhead and specialization, but it also has challenges because there is loss of control and dependency risks. Because if I cannot manage my logistics, or if I cannot take care of my marketing of my product, it poses a problem. So let's go to the next slide, please. Organizational structure. So personally, I really love organizational culture, because it is not only in organizations, it's also part of our individual lives. We have individual cultures, and they help shape the way we live our lives. So what is organizational culture? It's culture is just the way things are done in an organization. That is basically it. That is basically culture, the way things are done in an organization. The shared values, the beliefs, the assumptions and norms that influence how employees think, feel, and behave within an organization. So let's go. Let's talk about the different. Please, I can't see Mr. Yog. Okay. Thank you. So let's talk about the cultural topologies and models. So first of all, let's talk about the Cameron and Quinn competing values framework. We have the clan model, we have the adhocracy, we have hierarchy and market. So I'm going to briefly explain the different competing values here. For clan, here companies adopt a system whereby it's like family oriented. So there is this collaboration, taking the business as your own, making sure that you don't treat it. It's more of like a family. It is a close community. Here, there is teamwork and participation, strong relationships. Leaders act like mentors or coaches, and there is high trust and loyalty. Let's go to adhocracy. What does it mean? It simply means that here the culture is innovation. The main idea here is that the company adopts a culture of creativity and risk taking. It feels more like a startup. In this kind of organizational culture, they have slogans like try it, break it, and improve it, because they are all about going in fully and taking the risk and making sure that even if they fail, they can still stand up and continue. Let's go to hierarchy. What does hierarchy talk about? Hierarchy here is just, as we all know, in this particular culture, it's about a control culture. The main idea is stability and structure. It's more like government offices or like the army. There are clear rules and procedures, formal authority, a strong chain of command, focus on efficiency and consistency. And here the slogan you can find in such culture is just follow the rules. Follow the rules in hierarchy cultural organizations. So let's go to the next one, market. The market culture is more competitive. So the main idea is results and winning. So it feels more like a sales company. And here the traits are competition, target and performance. Leaders are tough and goal oriented, and they focus on the customers and making a lot of profit. Here you can find organizations like big corporations and sales driven firm. The motto here can be win or lose. So let's go to the Deal and Kennedy corporate culture types. Work hard, play hard. We've heard this a lot of time, that high activity, low risks, and quick feedback. What does it mean to work hard and play hard? To work hard means you put in the work, you make sure everything is okay, you promote a culture whereby people are told to put in their best because they have rewards at the end of their work, and they'll be given time to relax and actually enjoy themselves. It's not about work. And also the tough guy macho. High risks, fast feedback, individualistic, traits. For example, what does it mean, a tough guy macho? Here, what a tough guy is. You are supposed to take things the way they come. Little. You don't complain too often. You are just there to follow the rules and make sure that the culture is kind of stagnant. There is no room for people, like the top management doesn't really take recommendations from its workers. It's all about being tough and getting the job done. The process culture. Please, can you guys hear me? I think the internet is off.
Can hear you.
Right done.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so I'm back. Okay. So the process culture here focuses on the processes that organizations use to get to their goals. So if the process to get into a particular goal is for you to come to work on from Monday to Sunday, you have to follow the process of the company, and also bet your company. To bet your company is more of like doing the work so well that you can actually let me say, put your hand in the fire for your company and be so proud and confident that your company or your organization is actually worth working for. Please, let's go to the next slide. Hofstede's cultural dimensions. We talk about the power distance, individualism versus collectivism, uncertainty, avoidance, masculinity versus femininity, long-term versus short-term orientation. So here, for power distance, the extent to which less powerful members accept unequal power distribution. So in a company, for example, let us take CDC. Now I have an uncle who works there, and he's like, they are revolting now because the top management gave a rule or told them to do something, but they didn't receive it well. So they went there and they told them that this particular thing, we cannot follow this rule. I think this culture is too much for us. You should try to mellow things down. But the manager there said that the power came from above and he could not do anything about it. So the power distance, for example, it has both advantages and disadvantages. There is there's flat hierarchies and participative. There is steep hierarchies and top downs. Let's go to individualism and collectivism. So the degree to which individuals are integrated into groups. So organizations sometimes have cultures where they promote individualism. That is, they promote people to do things on their own and come up with their own ideas and not working with anyone or taking recommendations from anyone. And also for collectivism, some organizations encourage people to always work together, like teamwork, because they believe that when like two heads are better than one. So let's go to uncertainty avoidance. What does it mean? Tolerance for ambiguity and uncertain situations. So you have to be tolerant. Like ambiguity means that when something are not well defined, like there are some organizations that don't give really clear defined rules, and people might complain. So we should be tolerant enough to sit and try to figure out things for ourselves, even if those things are not really, those rules are not really clear, and directives are not really given to us. We should try to read in between the lines and also try to take care of on certain situations. Because sometimes companies cannot just give us all the directives. There is always room for ambiguity. And let's go to masculinity and femininity. So distribution of values between assertiveness and caring. So a company's culture can also be that of giving roles to people who are more assertive, and in our society, men are said to be more assertive and more pushy. So tough roles can be given to men, while the caring roles like HR role and marketing roles can be given to women, because they are much more caring. So long-term versus short-term orientation. It focuses on future rewards and versus immediate results. So long-term and short-term. So if a company can adopt a culture whereby they teach people to look for the long-term results, not the now, because a lot of people want to see results now, and if they don't see results now, they can feel discouraged and maybe they have low motivation and stuff like that. So some companies' cultures can be long-term results versus but if a company focuses on short-term orientation, it has its advantages and also its disadvantages. As you can see here, everything is outlined here. Let's go to the next part, please. The culture and culture relationship. So the purpose for this presentation is for us to align these two things together to see how companies can leverage them and become better at their performances and also becoming the best in the game. So when the structure influences culture, just as culture influences structure, you can see here that the hierarchical structures create the formal, the risk adverse culture. So in a company where they focus more on hierarchy, it can also help to shape the culture of that company. So if a company says that rules must come from top management, the culture must also reflect that particular structure, because if they don't align together, the structure is bound to fail or the culture cannot work. So organizations should make sure that every organizational structure or organizational type that they decide to use must also match the organizational culture of the organization. So if they want to set any culture, they should make sure that it aligns with the organizational structure. Let's take the case of our case study today is Toyota. Please, next. Good. Okay. So the impact of performance. What is the impact on performance when we align culture with structure? There is operational efficiency. What does that mean? For example, when companies set clear, defined rules and also make sure that their cultures align with those rules and regulations, the employees are bound to know exactly what they should do, what they should complain about, and what they should not complain about, and exactly what they need to do to ensure that the operations of the company are successful by following the rules of that company. For innovation capability, so companies that decide to use their culture is innovation, they have to make sure that they choose an organizational structural type that talks about, for example, the market organizational structure, where they focus more on the market and the customers and making more money. So for companies who want to who are innovation driven should also look for cultures that support innovation and not go contrary to the structure. Employee engagement. So for employee engagement, we are talking about, appropriate autonomy, transparent communication channels. So a company that chooses to use this particular structure must also create a culture that is supportive, that has supportive values, recognition system, and development focus. So you cannot want to say you want employee engagement and that as a structure. You want employees to, to work together, and then your culture doesn't support that. It's not going to work. So for employee engagement, if your culture and your organizational structure are together and they align, your employee engagement is also going to be amazing. For strategic agility, so when culture and organizational structure align, all the strategies can be flexible. There is more motivation to do things, and people make sure that all the strategies set by the organizations are followed to the latter, and hence, when the strategies are followed, the organization is bound to succeed. Please, let's go to the next slide. Research evidence performance, the impact. You can see that at 30% performance improvement when structure culture alignment is achieved. Higher revenue growth in companies with strong adaptive cultures, 3.7 times, and increase in employee productivity with appropriate organizational design. This is a general performance impact when culture and organizational structure align. So the critical success factors: strategy fit between structure, culture, and business strategy, leadership commitment to both structural and cultural initiative, consistent reinforcement through HR system, rewards and processes, regular assessment and adjustment as business conditions evolve. This next slide, Toyota Motor Corporation. So, having said, I talked about the alignment or the importance of companies aligning their organizational structure and their culture. Toyota Motor is the best example because I love the Toyota brand, and you can see the company. This shows when it was founded, the revenue, 2023, the employees, and everything. Please, next slide. Let's talk about the organizational structure of Toyota and their cultural values. So, Toyota's organizational structure, it's like a hybrid. So they make use of the hybrid system. They combine the divisional, the functional, and the metric system. As you can see, the geographical divisions, the regional autonomy. They have organizations in North America, Europe, Asia, and Japan. They have local market responsiveness, regional presidents with PI and A accountability. Let's go to product-based organization. Vehicles divisions, Lexus, Toyota brand. You can see where it's located. Dedicated resources per product line, brand-specific strategies and positioning. The functional expertise centers, global R&D engineering, manufacturing functions, standardized processes across regions, knowledge sharing, and best practice transfer. So Toyota makes use of the hybrid system. And let's see the structural advantages it has because of the hybrid system. Balance between global efficiency and local responsiveness, a cross-functional collaboration facilitated by metric design, a clear accountability at divisional levels while maintaining functional excellence, flexibility to adapt structure based on strategic priorities. Next slide, please. Toyota's organizational culture. We all watch Japanese movies, and we know that they are really they are hell bent on respect for people and also continuous improvement, and that is why their country is the way it is. So they make use of a foundational cultural framework. That is the first one, the continuous improvement, the Kaizen. The challenge here is form long-term vision and face challenge with courage, continuously improve business operations, always innovating. So this is the source, of course. So the continuous improvement, like in Toyota, they are always talking about improving something. They always want to look for new ways to change the face of a product, to make their cars better, to change the design of the tires. And that can be a good thing, but so I'm so sorry, my network. Oh God. So let's go to respect for people. Japan is really big on respect, to respect others, make every effort to understand each other, teamwork, stimulate personal and professional growth, maximize performance. So these are these here you can see we've talked about the organizational structure, the hybrid method, and also the organizational culture. How can Toyota, or how does Toyota align their structure and their culture to give them the success they've gotten so far? For example, when we talk about the hybrid method, if you have they use the divisional, the functional, and the metric system. If you talk about the divisional system where different geographical locations produce different things, and they have a culture of continuous improvement. For example, these various regions are always trying to, because of course there's always going to be competition between these regions to see which region is the best, which geographical region is the best, and for that there's always going to be continuous improvement. Each region wants to improve on their product. They want to become the best. Okay, Toyota in North America has changed the face of the Lexus car. Toyota in East Asia has done this. So there's always this competitiveness, and for them to do that, they need to continuously improve on their product. And also when it comes to the functional system where people are divided into departments, into their various expertise. There, for that to actually work, you need people to respect people. Because when they are, if you group people in particular departments like that, all of them are experts. I'm an expert in IT. You are maybe let me say we work in the same IT department. You are a graphic designer or whatever. You're an expert. If we don't respect one another, our qualifications or our skills can get in our heads, and that can really be bad for business, and that cannot support the structure, which is the functional structure. If people don't respect each other, that structure is bound to fail. So cultural manifestation in daily operations, you can see that the quality circles and employee suggestion systems, over 1 million suggestions a year. Stop the line authority, Adorn Court, empowers every worker. Long-term employment philosophy builds loyalty and institutional knowledge. Please let's go to the next slide. So this is the Toyota production system. The goal: highest quality, lowest cost, shortest lead time. So just in time, like take time. Production pace matching customer demand. Continuous flow, eliminate batch processing. Pull system, produce only what's needed when needed. So this is why Toyota is very successful, as you can see from their production system. And also build in quality, detect abnormalities immediately, stop and fix, prevent, detect from moving forward. You can see the separation of human and machine work, optimize both. Okay, next slide, please. Now, this is where Toyota aligns its structure and its culture. You can see here that for the Kaizen, the continuous improvement, cross-functional quality circles, flat organizational layers enabling rapid communication, ideas flow quickly from shop floor to management. Respect for people, decentralized decision-making, employee empowerment structures. I've talked about the meaning of decentralization is when power is not concentrated only for top management. It can also be taken by lower management in organizations. And you see, workers have authority to stop production and solve problems. Leadership rotation through operations require plans flow time for executive. Leaders understand reality through direct observation. That is what I say, ambiguity. You cannot always, even though someone doesn't tell you something or doesn't give you clear reasons or clear rules, as you're always supposed to be able to read in between the lines and also understand what is going on. Stable employment, internal promotion, pathways, patient and capital allocation, institutional knowledge, retention, and strategic consistency. So you can see here that great. Okay. Toyota's competitive advantage. What advantages do they have from other companies that produce the same product? There's quality leadership. For evidence, there's consistency in top rankings in reliability. You can see there's cost efficiency, innovation speed, organizational learning. Next slide, please. Challenges and strategic adaptations. Maintaining excellence while adapting to change. Here, from 2029 to 2010, the quality crisis, issue massive recalls. These are all the challenges and strategic adaptations that Toyota has used throughout the years for product recalls, and as they taught us in economics, in managerial economics, how sometimes companies may have product recalls and how can they do these things and also adapt to the changes. So please, next slide. These are the key insights from Toyota case study when I was looking at the structure and culture in Toyota. The integration is strategic. For example, structure and culture are not separate initiatives, but integrated strategic assets that must be designed together. So in Toyota, everything must be designed together. They don't say, okay, let's first of all create the structure, then we're going to create the culture. Any new structure they want to put in place, they are also discussing about the culture at the same time. Consistency over decades. They have never relented. They have been sustainable. They are always looking for new ways. They are innovative, always looking for new ways to stay in the game and all of that. Continuous evolution. They're always changing. If you look at the Toyota cars from 2021 till today, or from even from the 90s, it's totally different. And culture eats structure. So, why structure provides framework and everything, if the culture of the company is not good, the structure is bound to fail, because people work in these companies and culture is all about the people. And if it fails, structure is bound to fail. That is why they said here that culture eats the structure. And in Toyota, you can see that they have a very huge culture of innovation and improvement, and also the respect for human beings. I can't say that for the Americans, because Americans are not really that respectful. Let's go to operational philosophy. So here you can see that the philosophy, the ideologies here, that culture becomes operationalized through concrete systems, making abstract values tangible. Tangible here, making actual values like permanent, like values like have grounds. Their cultures, they don't joke with culture. It's not something to joke with. They make sure that their cultures and their values are tangible for them to actually, that is the idea. They believe that once they have a strong culture, the structure is going to be successful, and everything else is going to be also efficient. Leadership commitment. Alignment requires active leadership. Toyota executive embody cultural values and ensure structural support. So, leadership, great. Okay. Managerial implications and recommendations. So, assessment. So, the recommendations here are that for companies who are who have challenges with aligning their structure and their culture, these are some of the managerial implications and also recommendations that they can follow. So assessment. So audit current structure, culture alignment using diagnostic tools. Talked about this earlier, that when things are not working in an organization, we can unfreeze, do the process again and then refreeze. That this is allowed. And for implementation, lead structural changes with cultural context and communication. Lead structural changes with cultural context and communication. So what this means is that whenever you're putting any structural changes in place in an organization, make sure that it goes with the context of the culture, and the communication method also should be very adaptive. Things must always learn to, you have to change your communication styles and make sure that as structure changes, the context or your cultural context must also change, and you should learn how to communicate all these things. That's how you should implement these changes. So for design structure to support strategic priorities and cultural values, meaning that the structure you are putting in place must be very intentional. Make sure that it supports your priorities as an organization and your cultural values. They don't just put structures in place because we want to put them. Make sure that they align with your culture. For sustainability, you have regularly reassessing alignment as strategy and environment evolve. You need to always make sure that you check these. When you refreeze, make sure that you check the progress or the success or the failures of the new culture or the new culture. Make sure that the culture and the new culture or the new structure are aligned together for the betterment of the organization. So let's move forward. So to conclude, I think the organizational structure and culture are deeply interconnected strategic assets. Toyota exemplifies how deliberate alignment creates sustainable competitive advantage. Structure provides the framework, culture determines how effectively it functions. Success requires consistent leadership commitment over decades, not quick fixes. Even excellent models must evolve, maintaining core principles while adapting to change. And for me to just add something before I end this presentation, the day we were talking about the unfreezing and the process and the refreezing, I asked the question that what if a company refreezes and things are not still working, and the teacher said that there's always room to change, to unfreeze, to do the process all over again, and also to refreeze. So this presentation is just a clear sign that you might have the perfect structure or the culture, and it can be successful for a while, but as things change, as technology evolves, and new things are always coming into the market, you also have to make sure that you look into this structure and cultural alignments and make adjustments where and when necessary. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. That was good.
Sir, I can't hear you. Sir, I can't hear you. I don't think sir is in class. I can't even see him.
It could be the network because the network is actually breaking this evening.
I think he's in class, but the network cannot permit him to speak.
Oh my God. Only for our own time. God.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, I was kicked out of the class. I'm sure it's my network. So I'm back. I'm sure everyone can get me. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Great. So Sarah Mokake is in class. So I just asked that we should appreciate this presentation. And I didn't see anybody appreciating the presentation. Did we appreciate the presentation? Thank you very much. So can we take some questions? Can we take some questions? Let's take 2 questions. Surya Mokake, can you ask a question?
Yeah, I can ask a question now. From the questions the others will ask, I'll be able to get a summary of what was presented.
Simon has been the one presenting. Is Maureen in class now? She's not in class. Thelma? Can you ask a question? Ruth, you have not spoken since we started. Can Ruth hear me?
Yes, sir.
Were you part of the group?
Yes, sir.
You're part of this group?
Yes.
Okay, so you cannot ask a question. But I'm surprised that you are part of this group and it is only one person who presented. And you're in class?
He decided to do that.
No, it
We had
doesn't work
agreed
like
maybe because of time constraints.
No.
No, I was supposed to present
Does
part
not
of
work
it.
with that. I'll take it that you did not participate in the class, in the work.
So she did. Her network is really, she's in the village, and I didn't want her to just go offline and come again. So I decided to do it all by myself. So we did it together.
So you are the one now deciding.
So we talked about it and we agreed together.
Renee, are you part of this group?
We presented in the motivation team.
Okay, you were part of the motivators. Okay. Yeah. All right. Who has a question?
Probably to ask a question.
So you were part of the motivation, then you should have a question.
It should be in the same light with the question from the second presentation, from the first presentation today. The case study is good, but I was listening throughout the presentation and trying to see how it could be applied in our context, that is in Cameroon. So I just wanted to ask, is the only reason for choosing Toyota because you love Toyota, or there was no way we could look for a way to apply some of these theories or see how they have been applied in some Cameroonian companies?
So these things are very applicable, and we have Cameroonian companies. Like, for example, our school, FUNIC, has this very they have successfully aligned their structure with their culture. But as the teacher said earlier, we don't document things here in Cameroon, and we don't really have a detailed explanation as to how most companies are functioning. But from my little knowledge, I know that in FUNIC.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Don't quote me. I talked about what? When I say we don't document, our issues were what? Leadership. I have quoted FUNIC. I have said that they have a structure. Why did you not use them? Are you saying that FUNIC has not documented their structure? Are you sure?
Said they have, but
so why did you not use them? That's dangerous. And you are talking very, very conclusive. You talk like an authority.
Yeah, because to get the information was kind of stressful for me.
Are you sure?
I had
to ask.
Yes, sir.
You went to Phonik and asked their structure and you did not see it.
When I say it was stressful, like I didn't have time.
It's recorded. It's being recorded.
Yes, I know. I didn't have time to go there. That's why I said it was stressful.
So
for
don't
Toyota,
say that they have not documented their structure. When we were talking about leadership, I said we have not documented a lot of things. When he has
said they have. I just said they don't have, like, it's not detailed. Their documentation. I just feel like for Toyota, for my first of all, my personal love for the company. I could not hear you. Sorry, the network is really bad.
After this presentation, we'll end the class because the network is terrible today. I was asking and I was saying that you are making definite statements, especially in an examination class, like you are being examined for this presentation that you are doing this evening. When you make such statements, be sure that you have ample evidence to back them. If you are saying that Toyota is the best, and you didn't even use the word one of the best, you said the best, as if you conducted a test that gave you that audacity to qualify Toyota as the best. Which test did you conduct, and where are the results?
So, my personal findings and research, I've compared.
So where are the results of your personal findings? Where did you?
I didn't write them down. I was looking at them
so
on
don't
different
make definite statements. You keep arguing. I don't know why you are arguing. What do you want to prove? I'm saying that you can't make definite statements like that. And I'm serious about what I'm saying. When you are presenting a case, for example, you say one of the best that you used, it is your idea using Toyota. That doesn't mean that it's the best because you didn't conduct any test to prove that Toyota is the best. The second thing that I saw in your presentation is when you used a research. You are using a particular research and you didn't quote the research. Where was that research conducted? And what is the topic of the research? What was it aiming at? Can you go back to their slide that talks about the research conducted?
Mr. Ayuk, please.
Yes, this one. I say research evidence, performance, impact. Where was this research conducted? And why is it in this slide and in this work?
Can you hear me? The research was...
Your network is poor. I can't hear you again. So the other people who did the work together, can you answer this question? Ruth, you said you were part of this group, right?
Yes, sir.
So why did you have this research in your work?
He actually added it after we must have finished the work.
So where was the research conducted and when?
I don't know. I just saw it in the slide now.
Oh, you don't know, and you're a part of this group?
Yes, I don't know this particular research evidence.
You don't know the particular, so you just saw it, it just escaped from air and then landed in your work?
Well, so he added it now. It's not in the part of our work that we did together.
So you are saying that according to you, this one was not supposed to be here?
No, not that. That's
so
why
what are you saying? So are you accusing him that he did something behind you people?
No, sir.
I'm here.
So what are you saying?
So I'm here.
Yeah. I'm talking to Ruth, not you.
Ah, okay.
Ruth was part of this work, right?
Yes, sir.
So if she was part, she should answer this question. Why this research? When was it conducted?
Can I? Can I answer?
Okay, I'm back again.
Okay.
I'm sure you can hear me now.
Yes, sir.
Where Ruth is? Has she disappeared?
So I'm here.
Are you Ruth?
I think her network is bad.
She was talking. I could hear her. Who was the other person you work with?
Mr. Ngole.
And he's not there.
Yeah, he prepared the presentation. He was supposed to, the PowerPoint slide. He was supposed to talk about. He's not here, sir. That's it.
Okay. It's unfortunate.
Sir,
so why I'm asking, yes. I'm listening.
Okay, so you can see there that the 30% performance improvement when structure culture alignment is achieved. It's just like we took it from the McKinsey and Company when they did their research on the company, the structure and cultural alignment in their company. So that was where this here came from there. The second one, 3.7 times higher revenue growth in companies with strong adaptive cultures. Harvard Business Review. It was just adding more information, or this is just an evidence of, when companies have a strong and an adaptive culture, a culture that can change over time. This is what happens. And this research was carried out by the Harvard Business Review. And the 25% increase in employee productivity with appropriate organizational design, it was a research done by Deloitte Research, and everything is written down there, sir.
Does any other person has a question for them?
Yes, sir. I have a little question.
How little is a question?
I could not really picture out the culture of Toyota. For example, if you want to rate it according to clan, advocacy, market, and strategy, which of these cultures does Toyota fall into?
Okay. Simon. Simon Toyota. He has disappeared.
So I'm here. My network is just very bad. I'm so sorry.
So
please, okay. So as I said, the Toyota's culture is built on two main pillars. They have the continuous improvement, and that is always trying to improve processes, encourage employees to suggest ideas, focus on reducing waste and increasing efficiency. That shows it resembles the advocacy culture of innovation and market. That's performance, and the respect for people. They also follow the culture, the respect for people that builds teamwork, collaboration, long-term employment relationships, and it reflects the clan culture because it is family-like, people-centered. Does that answer your question? And they also use the hierarchy culture at Toyota because for example, they have clear rules and procedures, standardized work processes, strong quality and control system. And this hierarchy culture is about stability, order, and efficiency. As we said earlier, that the culture, the structure, Toyota makes use of the hybrid structure, meaning it can be divisional, functional, and market oriented, and they make sure that these culture. Don't forget, Toyota does this culture very intentionally because it has to match the structure. That is why we can see from the Kaizen continuous improvement, and that goes with the advocacy culture, and also respect for people that goes with clan culture, and hierarchy culture at Toyota that goes with the hierarchy structure that Toyota also uses.
Okay.
But Mr. Simon, you made a comment that for America you are not sure. So I don't know.
Okay. That was just an aside. I said that we all know that it is well known that even when we watch Japanese movies and American movies, you can see that they are hell bent on respect for people. They bow down while they greet you. You see the manager of a company bowing down to greet. It's just their culture, their way of life. So I said that I think that is why most Japanese companies are very successful, because they are people-oriented, people-centered, and they have the culture of, just the clan culture of family. Because when people are family, you treat people as family. They take your business as their business. Hence, your business is bound to succeed.
They are still not spoken about the American case you mentioned.
I didn't mention the American case. I said that the Americans don't really have the people culture like the Japanese have. I just said that as the way to compare both countries and why Toyota adopted this particular, culture into its, organization, because it is not just a Toyota's culture, it is the country's culture to respect people.
Okay. Therefore, the Americans don't have respect for the Toyota's culture. The clan culture of Toyota, they don't respect it.
No, Americans is not just, for example, we're talking about culture. Okay, let me say the Cameroonian culture, like in Cameroon, we don't expose our bodies. Like, that's our culture. Americans have their own culture. It doesn't mean that Americans don't respect our culture. It's not just their culture. They dress, they expose their bodies and everything. It doesn't mean they don't respect us. And it doesn't mean we don't respect their own culture. So it's not like I'm abusing them. I'm just saying that I'm not surprised that Toyota is using this particular culture, because the country as at large has a culture of, a people's culture.
Simple answer. When companies go multinational, they adapt to the culture of the host country.
Yes, sir.
You should know that. That's a basic rule. As much as the organizations have cultures which they have adopted, but when they go multinational, for example, an organization coming to Cameroon and then going to the Pygmy region to sell their products, you must at times behave like them in order for you to conquer them or to get into them. So sometimes you may have to dress in rags like they do, so that they can understand that you are one of them, for example. And so you cannot say that, for example, a culture that is practiced in America must also go to Japan. And that's why when the first presenters presented on leadership, when they touched the case of Carlos Ghosn was not a Japanese. So when he got to Japan, he had to have some conflicts, cultural conflicts, because he came from a different culture, but he was a very smart guy, because he had to adapt quickly to Japanese culture and also introduced. And when you are introducing a new culture, for example, we learned about that. If you are introducing a new culture, it is not just something that you do abruptly. I think we talked about that, elaborately about that, so we cannot go back there. So in brief, when you are moving out of a particular context to another context, you must make sure that there are some elements of that culture, or most elements of that culture, that you have to adapt, because it's a different context. We should know that as human resource manager. Unfortunately, we are not doing international human resource management. Of course, if we're doing the international human resource management, there are areas which we'll have to touch that will explain much about that. But in brief, that we should know. Before we close, I would like to see a few things that I didn't see in the presentation. I would have loved you to talk about organizational structural models, structure models, for example. Meisberg's framework that talks about 5 basic parts, that is strategic apex, middle line, operating core.
Thank you, sir. That was
structure. I don't know whether you talked about that. Probably I didn't catch that. Did you mention that? Structure models. Did you? No, I don't remember that. So with structure models, we have to look at things like Meisberg framework. Meisberg is capital MINTZBEG BERG, that is Mintzberg framework. And this one talks about 5 basic parts, which is strategic aspects, middle line, operating core, technostructure, support staff, and of course the McDonald's 7S model. McDonald's 7S model, which is strategy, structure, system, shared values, skills, style, and staff.
Okay, so I'm going to look into it. Sorry, my internet was bad.
So please, we need to add that in the work so that others will have it. I will also did not hear much about the impact of structure on performance. Did we say that? The impact of structure on performance? How structure and culture affect? Okay, that's important. That's very interesting. That was good. And then another thing that I didn't get clearly was we didn't talk about modern trends. Did we talk about modern trends? Like agile organizations, flexible and adaptive, did we? Looks like we didn't. Within the context of modern trends, for example, we talk about agile organizations, flexibility, adaptive structures. We should look at that. We should also look at virtual organizations like remote work, digital collaboration, for example. And of course, boundaryless organizations, breaking down internal and external boundaries. When we are talking about multinationals, of course, you took the case of Toyota, which is an example to this kind of organizations. And once an organization is like that, the structure adapts to context, like we have said before. So thank you very much for the work you did. Like I told the other group, please drop this work and make these additions to our chat group. And I'm expecting questions from that chat group for coaching sake. From now to Sunday, I'll be taking some questions. So that will be coaching. You can drop a question from the presentations we have had or for any other human resource management topic. So tomorrow we are going to round up with the presentations that we have had from the different groups. Somebody will be talking about management. Who was supposed to talk about management? We gave this one to Pelagie. Oh, la. The time has gone. We would have loved to hear from you. Okay, so tomorrow we will resume at exactly 7 p.m. So we'll start with Pelagie, but I gave a homework to, was it? I gave homework to somebody. I forgot him. Is he there? It's a he. He should own up. Who was that?
I don't know if it's Kede.
Yes, it's Kede. Kede. I gave him an assignment. He's going to talk first tomorrow for 3 minutes, and then Pelagie takes over, and then we'll see what we'll add tomorrow. We may start some additional information that I have to give to you people. It was not part of the outline, but it will be very, very good for you for the exams and also for your work as human resource experts, and that is recruitment and selection. So if we finish early tomorrow with the presentation, we'll start recruitment and selection, and then we'll finish on Wednesday. If we finish on Wednesday, if there are any other additional information, I'll give them to you before your exams. If we finish with recruitment and selection, that we are good to go for the exams. I think that will be enough work which would have been done. So I do not know if somebody has a question. I can see my good friend just joined us now. Maureen, welcome.
So I'm sorry that I'm just joining now. I had an emergency.
We were told.
I didn't have it easy, so
we hope
I'm
you are
just trying to catch up, even though I'm lost. But I'll try to read through.
Yourself.
No, I'll join tomorrow. I'll read through the notes. Thank you so much.
All right. Now, do we have any other question? If we don't, we'll have to call the evening closed, and do have a wonderful night. See you all tomorrow, same time, 7 p.m. Mr. Ayuk, make sure that you make yourself available. Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Night.
Night.
Good night.